everybody! So this week we are going to be doing something a bit different from my last video, and we're going to be drawing one of the most important features of the face, which is the eye. And it's just going to be a really simple yet cool looking sketch, and I hope you enjoy it. The materials for this project are going to be super simple, just a piece of paper and a pencil. So to start, I'm just going to draw a really simple oval shape or almond shape that we all sort of think about for eyes. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine is definitely a rough sketch at this point. So now I'm going to start drawing the bottom eyelid. And this is just basically following the shape of the eye that we've already drawn. I'm going to draw a bit of the top part as well. And then the left corner of the eye, I'm going to round out a little bit more, make it a little less pointy. And then I'm going to draw this little corner part of the eye. Now I'm going to draw the top part of the eyelid, and it's just going to follow that shape of the eye, just basically a half circle over it. And yeah, make sure not to make it too wide, and it's gonna go even all the way down to outlining that corner part of the eye. And then I just added some little wrinkles there. Okay, now we're going to start working on the inside of the eye. And the iris is just going to be a circle inside the eye that we already drew. And the top part is just cut off a little bit by the eyelid. Also, just a heads up, I redid this part of the eye a bunch of times just because I wasn't liking the shape. So feel free to skip ahead to the next step. Okay, here we are, finally the next step. I'm just drawing little lines, two little lines here for that part of the eye. And then for the pupil, it's just a little circle inside the iris. So now that we have this really basic rough drawing of the eye, we're going to start the shading process. So I'm just going to start by filling in the pupil, and I did it pretty light at first, just because I wasn't like totally sure how dark I was going to make my iris. Speaking of the iris, I'm just outlining the line that I already drew a little bit thicker, and darker. And then around the iris, or around the pupil, sorry, I just, I don't know, I was just adding some things in there, and as you can see, I'm making the pupil a bit darker. Now, the iris has these lines in it. If you can see in your eye, it just sort of looks like a bunch of lines that make up the color. So that's all that I did here, was add a few little lines everywhere. And then in that sort of left, upper left corner part, that's the darkest part. So I just added a few more lines there than in the other places. And I just kept going in with these lines in order to shade the inside of the iris. So I made this first round of lines really light so that if I needed to erase anything or fix anything, I could go back later. But now that I like it, I'm just going to add a few more darker lines in. For this next part, I'm going to be adding in the little white shine in the eye, and I just erased a little circle in the top right hand corner. Now I'm going to start shading in the white part of the eye, and I just started by doing a really light bit of pencil off of that top part of the eye, and then as I'm coming down, I'm gradually making it lighter and lighter, fading into the white of the paper. And then I had a little trouble with this corner. Make sure, don't make it too dark on that bottom part. See, I'm fixing and erasing. And I'm going to shade a little bit in the left corner of the eye as well. And that's just really, really light. And also, just a reminder, make sure with all of this shading, never push down too hard, because that can make it a lot more difficult to erase your lines and fix your picture. So okay, we are almost finished with the inside of the eye. I just added a few little veins in the eye, and in the darker parts, I'm going to make them a little bit darker, but then as I'm moving into these lighter white parts, I'm pressing down super softly just to make them really light. And I'm going to shade this inside corner part of the eye, just kind of the outline of these shapes inside. They get lighter as you go towards the center, but this part's pretty dark. Now I'm going to shade this like bottom eyelid part. I'm just going over it a bit to make it a cleaner line. And then from this corner, I'm just really lightly shading and coming outward. Now I'm shading the upper part of the eyelid, and I started off super lightly, just making sure that I liked how it looked every few seconds. And then for this part, yeah, I had to move the paper a little bit because I couldn't quite see. But yeah, that upper eyelid line I just made a bit thicker. Yeah, it makes it look more like a crease. And then I just added a bit of messy shading up above the line as well, and a few little lines there to serve as sort of wrinkles. And then I just went in and made the shading inside a little bit darker. Okay, now we're going to start the eyelashes. And on that tiny little line that I drew earlier for like the part where where the eyelid first touches the eye on the top, that's where I'm going to start my eyelashes. And for this, the eyelashes kind of, when they're on the right side, they point upwards toward the right, and then on the left they point upwards toward the left. But every once in a while I did an eyelash kind of like pointing the other way to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then I just added like some tiny little lines at the bottom just to make it look a bit fuller and darker. And then also as we move toward the inside, like left corner of the eye, the eyelashes get shorter. So keep that in mind. And then here I just added like a little reflection on my white shine from my eyelash. It's not super necessary, but now for the bottom lashes. These are going to be a lot shorter than the ones on the top, and there's going to be a lot less of them. Just like before, the lines, the eyelashes on the right end are going to be a bit longer than the ones coming in closer towards the left corner of the eye. And then same thing, once I had a few eyelashes, I just went back in with tiny little lines to make it look a bit more full. And once you're pleased with your eyelashes, that's going to be the completed drawing. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe and comment down below for more video/project ideas.